Good day, Ms. Kim. This is our presentation or reporting in science and technology and society. And the topic that you have given to us is the pre-Spanish period and the Spanish colonial period during the 16th century. But before we will jump to the topic, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Clarence Napila.
My name is Mary Ann and Cosare.
Name is Mekaila Amodayon.
We are the group 4. So we're we're going to share with you the pre-Spanish period and the Spanish colonial period. Our objectives is to know the significant contribution of the Spanish and pre-Spanish colonial period in the Philippines. We're going to learn the state or status of science and technology, and also to determine the impact of those contributions on shaping science and technology for the country. Pre-Spanish period. When we say pre-Spanish period, it is where the Philippines is not yet colonized by the Spanish or Spaniards. Ang kanilang uri ng pamumuhay nito noon ay wala silang government na nagko-control sa kanila. Wala silang no formal government kumbaga. At ang mga ancient Filipinos or mga ancestors natin ay nakatira sa mga different barangays at ang namumuno sa kanila ay ang mga chieftains. Chieftains meaning datu or raha or raja. Noong panahon ng pre-Spanish period, in terms of their religious belief, ang mga ancestors natin ay may pinaniniwala na iba't ibang gods and goddesses. Naniniwala sila na sinasamba nila yung mga bato, puno, or animals. Yun yung way of their pagsasamba. Unlike sa atin ngayon na may kinikilala talaga tayong one God. Yon. And then next is literature. May dalawa silang uri ng literature. Ito ay ang oral and written. Ang example ng kanilang oral na literature is ang bugtong or riddle. Next is uyayi or lullaby. Sa written naman ay ang biag ni Lamang or Ilocano epic, Indira Patra at Sulaiman and Bidasari or kind of Muslim epic. Next is ornaments. Ginagamit nila itong ornaments upang palamuti sa kanilang katawan upang maging kaya-aya sila sa paningin ng iba. Next is education. Wala rin silang, nung pre-Spanish period, wala rin silang formal na education. Ang nagsisilbing guro nila ay ang kanilang mga magulang. Sa mga kababaihan, tinuturuan sila sa mga gawaing pambahay. At ang mga kalalakihan naman ay tinuturuan sila ng kanilang mga ama sa pangingisda or mga pangangaso. Or, in short, panghanap buhay. Next is dances. Nung unang panahon rin, may mga, hindi lang sa ngayon, mga ancestors rin natin ay hinahiligan na rin ang pagdadance and mga musics. Ginagamit nila itong mga dances nila ito, nagpe-perform sila ng mga dances during festivals or kapag may ginagawa silang parang nag-offer sa kanilang sinasamba na gods and goddesses. And then, courtship and marriage. Their form of courtship and marriage is dapat yung lalaki ay may ino-offer sa pamilya ng mga babae upang patunay na kaya niyang buhayin ang babae. Yun yung kind of courtship and marriage nila noon. At yung courtship naman nila noon ay yung lalaki mismo ay pumupunta talaga sa mismong bahay ng babae upang ligawan ang babae. So, yun ang mga contributions of pre-Spanish period.
The state and status of the science and technology during the pre-Spanish period is the Philippine pre-Spanish period contains little written documentation of the society, culture, and technology that existed there before the arrival of the Spanish. The first Homo sapiens to arrive in the continent and traverse the narrow strait to dwell in Palawan and Batangas. according to archaeological evidence, happened roughly 50,000 years ago.
So the next is the impact of those contribution in science and technology. So the initial wave of technology was being formed by the Filipinos who were already involved in science-related activities and practices. How to extract medication from herbs was based on the curative qualities of specific plants. They possess writing system, accounting system, an alphabet, and weights and measure. They did not use calendar but rather counted the years according to the moon's phases and from one harvest to the next. So, yung initial wave ng technology is na-form siya ng mga Filipino na we were already involved sa science related activities like tinuruan sila kung paano mag-extract na medication from herbs, and yung herbs na yon is nag-base siya sa yung mga curative like na specific plants, just like for example yung medicine herbs na ginagamit ng mga tao ngayon is yung lagundi. Isa yun sa mga curative qualities ng isang specific plants na pwede pala siyang maging medicine sa mga illnesses. So, and also they possess a writing system. Tinuruan din sila ng writing system, like counting, alphabet, and weights and measure. So, and noon, during the pre-Spanish is hindi sila gumagamit ng calendar but rather counted years according to the moon's phases from one harvest to the next. So as a result, the influence of their contribution seems to have made life easier for the Filipinos back then. For example, they learned how to extract plants to make herbal medicines, and by teaching them the writing system, counting system, alphabet, and other skills, and their minds were expanded. So, parang yung naging impact ng contribution ng science and technology, contribution ng mga Spanish sa science and technology is yung mga Filipinos parang naging mas mapadali yung buhay nila na pasayon ang ilahang kinabuhi because of that contribution. So, just what I have said earlier, yung tinuruan sila kung paano na mag-extract ng herbal medicine from specific plants which ginagamit pa rin ng mga tao ngayon, na ginagawa pa rin ng mga tao ngayon, which na-learn nila sa mga Spanish back then. And also by teaching them the writing system, the counting, alphabet, and other skills, parang nahatagan sila of benefits because of that contribution, and their minds were expanded. Parang naging mas malawak yung kaisipan ng mga Pilipino because of that, because of their contribution sa ating bansa noon. So the next is the Spanish colonial period. So the Spanish colonial period of the Philippines began when explorer Ferdinand Magellan came to the islands of 1521 and claimed it as a colony for the Spanish Empire. The period lasted until the Philippine Revolution in 1898. So, ang Spanish colonial period sa Philippines is nag-start siya when the explorer Portuguese named Ferdinand Magellan came to the Philippines in 16th century. So, disclaimer lang guys, if you're wondering bakit ang mga Spanish ang nag-conquer sa Philippines, na ang naka-discover man sa Philippines is si Ferdinand Magellan, which is isa ka Portuguese. So, based on what I have read, so according to what I have read in the source which asa na ko gikuha ang kaninga information is that parang gi-claim ni Ferdinand Magellan ang Spain since isa man siya ka explorer which naga-sail siya bisan asa nga places. So parang iyang gi-claim na as a colony for the Spanish Empire. So and that period was lasted until the Philippine Revolution sa 19th century.
Spanish colonial period. In Spanish colonial period, Spanish colonization of the Philippines started in 1565 during the Miguel de Legazpi set foot on the Philippines. He was the first Spanish governor general in Philippine literature started to flourish during this time. The Spaniards colonized the Philippines for more than 3 centuries. Dito sa pre-Spanish period, maraming na-embrace ang mga Filipinos na traits na galing sa Spanish or mga Spaniards. May mga inintroduce din sila sa atin na naging kagamitan na rin natin hanggang sa kasalukuyan. These are the significant contribution in the Philippines. When Spaniards come into our country, there are things that also influence and embraced by the Filipinos. These are first is the Spanish influences in the Philippine literature. So, ang mga Spaniards ay may inintroduce sila na tatlong literature sa ating mga Filipino na in-embrace na rin natin. First is ang The Passion, next, Zarzuela, and Nuestra Señora del Rosario or Our Lady of Rosary. Next is the Spanish Catholicism in the Philippines. The Spanish Catholicism or Catholic is introduced in 16th century by the Spaniards. Bakit nga ba pinalaganap ng mga Spaniards or Spanish ang Catholicism sa ating bansa? First reason, ang purpose nila is upang i-convert ang mga Philippine natives or ancestors natin into Catholic. Second purpose nila is para mapadali ang pagko-colonize nila sa ating bansa. Kasi nga, noong unang panahon, ang mataas na antas ay ang mga priest or mga nasa sa katungkulan ng simbahan. Katulad na lamang ng ginawa ni Jose Rizal na No Limitang Here, na kung saan makikita natin na kung kahit gaano ka pa kayaman or kahirap or ano pang katungkulan mo sa buhay or ano pang kataas mong katungkulan sa government, ang mga pare pa rin o mga priest pa rin ang masusunod sa paglalathala ng kanilang batas. This is Spanish or Spaniards introduced as some cuisines. These are pandesal, flan, or a type of egg custard. Next is arroz valenciano or type of rice dish.
And in the state or status of the science and technology during the Spanish period is the technology and time became more advanced and focused, with the majority of attention going to research into tropical diseases, agriculture, food processing, forestry, medicine, and pharmacy. And also this period means that the technology and era became more greater modernized and prioritized than the Spanish duration. Thus, as in the main centered on studies is what I've said earlier, like the tropical diseases, agriculture, and food processing, forestry, medication, and pharmacy.
So the impact of those contribution in science and technology. So the colonization of the Philippines contributed to growth of science and technology in the archipelago. So the Spanish introduced a formal education and founded a scientific institution during the early years of Spanish rule in the Philippines. So ang colonization sa Philippines is nakakontribute din siya sa growth sa science and technology here in the Philippines. So, ang mga Spanish noon is sila ang nag-introduce of formal education and founder po sila sa scientific institution there sa Philippines. And during na siya sa early years sa Spanish rule sa Philippines, which is the 16th century. So, one of their contribution is the parish schools were established where religion, reading, writing, arithmetic, and music was taught. So, ang parish schools gi-establish na sa mga Spanish, well, where dito ginatudlo ang religion, ang writing, ang reading, arithmetic, and even music. And gituduan po nila og sanitation and more advanced method of agriculture was taught in the natives. So, gituduan po nila og kanang mga advanced methods sa agriculture ang mga natives. Gituduan nila og mga mga techniques or methods sa agriculture ang mga Filipino sa una. So, later, the Spanish established colleges and university in the archipelago, including the University of Santo Tomas. So, after ato nga mga contribution is nag-contribute na po sila og kaning mga colleges and universities. So, establish na nila sa Philippines, including the University of Santo Tomas, which is the first university here in the Philippines. So, as you can see in the picture, so naay first picture diri which is this is a parish school. So, kani siya is, so as you can see murag ginatuduan sila sa jud sa murag sa simbahan jud gani. Ginatuduan sila sa simbahan, which is diri ginatudlo ang reading, writing, religion, even music. So, the second picture is the methods of agriculture. So, as you can see in the picture, murag ginakuan nila ang mga Filipinos noon para sa ilahang murag hanap buhay gani. Ginakuan nila ginatuduan nila og kaning mga methods sa agriculture para sa ilahang hanap buhay. So, the third picture is the first university here in the Philippines, the University of Santo Tomas. So, diri after aning mabuild ang kaning nga university is daghan na jud ang mga murag ni sunod na mga university nga nagpatindog diri sa Philippines. That's why daghan nag mga university diri sa Philippines nga kuan. So ang nag-lead ani siya nga university, murag ang nagpatindog ani is, di ba, ang mga Spanish ay napatindog ani. So dako jud kayo og impact sa mga tao, sa mga Filipino ang contribution sa mga Spanish noon. So, therefore, the influence of such contribution is that by building parish schools, it helps the Filipinos, especially the children, to learn things that they can use to their lives. It is important that the children or even the Filipinos know the religion, how to write and read, and even know music. Thus, the Spanish influenced the Filipinos' agricultural practices, which were very important because they could improve their everyday lives or allow them to learn more about agriculture. And those practices that the Spanish influence are still in use today. So, the Spanish founded some universities throughout the 16th century, including the University of Santo Tomas, which is the first university here in the Philippines. So therefore, the influence of such contribution is that by building parish schools, it helps the Filipinos, especially the children, to learn things that they can use to their lives. It is important that the children or even the Filipinos know the religion, know how to write, read, and even know music. Thus, the Spanish influenced the Filipinos' agricultural practices, which were very important because they could improve their everyday lives, they could improve their lives, or allow them to learn about agriculture. So, the practices that the Spanish influence are still in use today. The Spanish founded some universities throughout the 16th century, including the University of Santo Tomas, which is the first university of the Philippines. So, ang impact jud ato nga ang impact sa mga contribution sa mga Spanish sa una is by building parish schools. Nakahelp din siya sa mga Filipinos, especially the children. Nakahelp siya to learn things that they can use to their lives. So it is very important that the children here in the Philippines or even the Filipinos kay makabalo sa religion, makabalo sila how to write, to read, and even know music. Thus, the Spanish, ang impact sa ilang contribution regarding sa agricultural practices, which very important because naka-improve yun na sa ilahang lives because of that. Kabalo sila sa techniques and sa methods sa agriculture, maka-improve sa ilahang lives, sa ilahang mga trabaho, mga hanap buhay. And those methods na gitudo sa mga Spanish is ano pa siya ron, kaning na-use pa siya karon nga era. So the Spanish founded some university throughout the 16th century. So ang ilahang gipatindog nga university is very useful karon kay up until this day ginagamit siya punto siya nga contribution and murag daghan pang nisunod na mga napatindog og mga university because of the contribution of the Spanish sa pagpatindog sa university diri sa Philippines.
So to sum up our report, we already know the transition of our Filipinos ancestor from pre-Spanish to Spanish period. So hindi lang talaga makikita natin na hindi lang puro disadvantages ang binigay ng mga Spanish or Spaniards sa ating bansa. May mga advantages rin silang naitulong or naipahayag sa ating bansa. Ito na ay just like the education, the type of education of the Filipinos before in pre-Spanish. Wala silang formal education. Ang nagtuturo lang sa kanila is ang kanilang mga magulang. Hindi pa sila gaanong may alam. Unlike pagdating ng mga Spanish, ay tinuruan ng mga Filipino kung what is the formal form of education and also the system of in their government also. So ngayon, nalaman na rin natin ang kaibahan ng pre-Spanish and Spanish colonial period at ano ang mga contribution nito sa ating bansa na hanggang sa ngayon ay na-embrace nating mga Filipino at nakagawian na rin natin. So, ayan lang po ang report ng Group 4. That's all. Thank you and God bless.